Yep. All right, friends. Let me show you my little show and tell. Let me show you my show and tell. That seemed unnecessary. All those words. So here is you've been following along. Here live at the Loom. And you have seen me playing with some Overshot recently. Yes, you have. So let's look at this together because it is off the Loom and just freewheeling it in the real world here. So let's talk about it. So this is okay. Here's what I find fascinating. It looks so different off the Loom. I just think about how you look at the project. By the way, I've got some kind of craziness happening here. Something's different. So here's what's interesting is that when it was on the, by the way, this hasn't gone through any kind of washer dryer, no kind of wet finishing. Because I did all kinds of crazy yarns in here, I'm probably not gonna. But when it was on the Loom, this kind of detail, this little pattern, I didn't show up as clearly. It really looks nice when it's off the Loom, doesn't it? Let's talk about how the way it relaxes. This is also fun too. I had 2 colors of tencel, and I did this. You can see at the bottom here. I did this kind of crazy kind of wine color on one end, and I did this really bright kind of bright orange on the other end, and then I mixed them in the middle. So that's where you get that kind of subtle. This side seems a little more dramatic because I've got that kind of creamy pattern weft that floats over the top there too. So by the way, speaking of weft, let me see if I can pull some out there. Can you see? Yeah. I've got, I used the same orange tencel in there. Plus I've got one's got a little bit of a shine to it, which is kind of fun. And then something that's got a little texture. So a little mix. Now, here's what's interesting is that if you see the original, all of these little pattern details here look much more kind of squat-ish. Mine were a little more elongated. Now, when they came off the Loom, they relaxed. It's not nearly like on the Loom. It really looked like it was going to be really stretched out, but doesn't look so bad here. So what I wanted to do then was start to play with how can I control the proportions of the actual pattern. So as I went, you can almost even see it like this. Look at this guy here versus like this guy up here. Like I started to diminish the size of the pattern weft, thinking that was going to change the proportions of it. So, yeah, you can see, we're getting even like squattier here, which I don't know if that's a real word, but we're going to go with it. Look at the difference from there to there, just by changing kind of the ratio, the proportions of how big the pattern weft was. So I played with that as we're going along. Merrily she rose. And I did something different here. Oh, I know. I kept taking, when I started, I had like 5 tiny little yarns all wrapped up in the pattern weft. And then I would be like, okay, now I have 4 and now I have 3. So I'd make it smaller and smaller. And what's funny is that from here to here, you can see that I took out the orange. So now it's just a couple of creamy little pattern weft yarns for this. But this is much closer to how the pattern looks in the book. It's still not as squat, but not too bad. Like that really started to make a difference. Let me pull it up from the beginning. We can see, we'll kind of compare and contrast right there. Now, here's what you should know as well, is that as I'm playing with shrinking the pattern weft, once I get to a certain point, I was like, okay, it's not going to happen. Like I am not with this set, with this spacing of my warp yarns going this way, I'm not going to be able to achieve what it looks like in the book without going back and re-threading it so everything is spread a little farther apart. So all these have room to really kind of slouch. Like that's what the pattern looks like. It looks like it's slouchier versus my version here. So at that point, I was like, well, in that case, I'm going to just play with adding other yarns and doing whatever. So I started to add back some darker yarns for the in the pattern weft here. So you can see what's interesting is that you can really read the pattern much better here. Like this starts to look a little like it doesn't pop as much. The pattern doesn't here. But here's where I'm going with this. I was like, well, what if instead of having the pattern weft be really like creamy and bright, what if I went dark? So this was kind of leading into the dark. This is getting closer and closer. Look how it starts to pop right here. Woo, see? Okay, and here we are at the end of the project. That's just a little crease in my fabric there. But look at that. Now, here's what I find fascinating is that when you look at this dark, first of all, hard to read the pattern, which makes sense because the colors are all much closer when you look at like the contrast. Like there's hardly any contrast then. This is all this kind of wine color. It's all in that family. However, I think for me, it really reads like grandma's sofa. Like, doesn't it look like upholstery then? Like, I mean, you can't see it at all here. You can't, because it's all the same color, but you start to see the kind of contrast. I just think that's really, really interesting what happens with as you change the pattern weft in the fabric. This is a serious, I wonder if there's an error there. I have a serious line running through it right here. I think it's just because I had it folded somehow in there. It could also be a mistake. That could also be, or a design decision. We'll say a design quirk. But how fun. This was such a fun project, and what a journey to go from this at the very beginning, creamy and chunky, and then this at the very end, all the kind of darkness, all the darker colors there, which makes it very, like this, I feel like is very moody. It's very, I don't know, dramatic. And this here seems much more traditional, classic. There's something about it. Now, as Lori mentioned, Lori had the best descriptor. What did you call trippy? She said this is such a trippy pattern, which is so true. And I agree, because it's not, first of all, it's asymmetrical, which is a really interesting option when it comes to Overshot. I don't even know if I mentioned that. Did I mention this is Overshot? This is Overshot, friends. Let me show you the original, and you can kind of get a vibe for what we were working towards. Here we go. It's in the Bertha Gray Haze. It's in the Bertha book, which is all, she did all these miniatures, but you can, of course, expand them into anything. But this is the pattern. Can you see how those are much more kind of rounded and slouchy? Mine all ended up a little taller. And as I worked through that challenge, what I found that if I really wanted to achieve that kind of more rounded, slouchy effect, I needed to spread out my warp yarns a little more, and maybe beat even a little more firmly, because that would pack things in as well. So there's a couple things you can do if you find yourself in that position in the future. Just as a little FYI, let my experiment be your, your little trip to the front of the line. You don't have to go through all that, because I just did. But if you find that you really want a pattern to look exactly like it does, and you're like, I'm not sure quite what to adjust, those are some ideas for you. P.S. If I didn't show you the original picture, no one would know. So keep that in mind, that there is no weaving police, that you are welcome to do it with your own modifications. And I am just going to say that this little lovely has all kinds of my own modifications to it. And as long as you don't compare it to the original, who cares? Who cares? It was fun. It was very fun. So thank you so much for your recommendation to do a little Overshot. It was like a little palette cleanser, a little Overshot. I don't always think of doing Overshot, but I know it is a fan favorite. So thank you so much for recommending it. Yeah. All right. Let me pop in and grab a couple comments here, and we'll see what, we'll see what y'all had to say. Oh, we talked about name drafting. Good. Cindy said, I'm studying name drafting right now, and sure, I'll be peppering Christy with questions. Yeah, she's a great resource for sure. Connie says, I have done name drafting in the past. Placemats. Aw, placemats for your people. I love that. Love that. Oh, thank you, friends. Ooh, yeah. Ellen, you're so smart. That'd be a great wall hanging, wouldn't it? Ooh, okay. Oh, I love this idea because for me, I kind of think that the dark would the dark have to hang at the bottom? Okay, okay, okay. Oh, so here is what here. Okay, I love this. First of all, I think, and kind of what I mentioned at the beginning as I was explaining this, is that as we're weaving it, we're looking at it from what, 8 inches, 10 inches away. It's a whole different thing if it can be, many feet away from you, many yards. Like, look how different that looks. That'd be a beautiful wall hanging. You're exactly right. Look at that. And I think what's cool about it is that because the pattern is kind of funky, it doesn't invite you to like get closer and be like, okay, what's happening here? Like, it's not quite like a MC Escher kind of thing, but it does have it's a little crazy, which I love. Yeah, yeah. Good wall hanging. Oh, I love that idea. Ellen, thank you. See, you're very wise. Yeah, exactly, Lori. I started to just zone out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Trippy. That is, yeah. Yeah. I'm with you.